Hello. During this week, we've been thinking about Jesus' first miracle as recorded by John, and it was when he turned the water into wine at a wedding at Cana in Galilee. And I want to read a reflective piece written by Thomas Troger about that couple who got married that day in Cana. I would like to think there was some wine left over. Jesus supplied enough. John tells us there were 6 stone water jars, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. If 3 jars held 20 gallons, 3 times 20 is 60, and if 3 jars held 30 gallons, 3 times 30 is 90, so 60 plus 90 is 150 gallons. 150 gallons of wine. It's quite a lot to drink, especially since they had already finished off the initial supply. Surely one 20-gallon jar would have been enough, but no, Jesus is extravagant. He is wildly extravagant. So it's not unreasonable to believe that some wine was left. And I would like to think that when the celebration was over, and the couple had left for their honeymoon and the guests had departed, that some family friend or family member poured the wine that was left over into smaller containers and corked them. Then when the couple returned, they were presented with several crates of that splendid wine. I picture the couple delighted, smiling to think that on the meagre budget of newlyweds, they can enjoy such heavenly vintage with their low-cost supper. In the way of eager young couples, they do not plan very well at first, so that at the end of 2 or 3 years, they realise that extravagant as Jesus was, they will one day run out. And so they begin to save it for special occasions, bringing out on an anniversary, on the birth and dedication of a child, at family reunions, on high holy days that feature feasting and drinking. And every time they taste the wine, they relive their wedding day. And they recall how at the first sip of Jesus' wine, they had looked at each other with eyes that shone with a love whose intensity caught even them by surprise. And so the years pass until they are an old couple, keenly aware that all flesh is grass, springing up in youth, then quickly fading. I picture the old couple on a chilly night. She's in front of the fire trying to warm her feet and her hands because they're always cold now. He pauses coming into the room, where she sits on a bench pulled right up to the grate. He studies her in the light of the fire, the shape of her forehead, the deep creases in her face, and the lips that he has kissed 10,000 times. All of a sudden, with a prompting that he can't explain, he blurts out, "Honey." At first she doesn't hear him, so he calls again, "Honey." She slowly looks up and he says, "Honey, what if we finish the wine tonight? The rabbi's wine. There's just one little bottle left. It might warm you up a bit." "Sure," she says, "that would be good." So he goes and gets the wine and brings it back to the fire with the only clean cup that he can find. He sets it down and uncorks the wine, speculating, "I wonder if it'll still be good after all these years." "It always has been," she says. "The rabbi's wine has never gone bad. It's as amazing as the way he provided it." The husband pours the first serving and hands his wife the chalice. She sips and hands it back to him. They look at each other and nod their agreement. The wine is as rich as the day they were married. They drink very slowly, and as they drink, they start to tell stories. She says, "I remember when Sarah was born. You would have thought nobody had ever been a father before the way you carried on. calling in the whole neighbourhood. They drank an entire crate of this wine as if it were our wedding all over again. Ha! Says he, you did just about the same when Benjamin and Rebecca brought home our first grandchild. The wife laughs a hearty laugh. I did, didn't I? Those were good times, good enough to want them never to stop. He pours some more wine, and they each take a sip, and he stirs the fire, and they sit absorbed in the flame. She sees him out of the corner of her eye, and he notices that he's trying to hold back the tears. She knows what he's thinking. He's remembering when the third child died, been terribly sick, tried everything, but he died anyway. All she could pray for weeks on end was, my God, why have you forsaken us? They were both so distraught, and God didn't seem to answer. They didn't know what to do, but to blame the other one. One evening he came home and she had supper ready, and they set things out on the table without saying a single word, going through the motions that had become rituals of habit, the only thing holding them together day by day now. When they sat down, they realised she'd not got water from the well, and he'd not brought home any wine from the market. So he got up and found one of the bottles of wine from their wedding. Might as well open it now. No sense saving it for special occasions anymore. So he opened it and poured some wine for each of them. And when the wine touched their lips, they tasted grace in their hearts. And they broke down and sobbed together. The grief of their loss never went away. How could it? But the strength to carry the grief together, that's what the wine of Jesus gave them. And now, sitting in front of the fire, he turns to look at her, and hearing him move, she turns towards him, and they look at each other, and she takes his hand, saying, I know. And he is silent, then holds the bottle upside down over the chalice. There are a few last drops. He hands the chalice to her. Here, you finish it. She takes the smallest sip and hands it back to him, pointing out that there's still the tiniest bit at the bottom. He puts the brim to his lips and throws back his head, holding the chalice straight over him, and then slowly brings it down and holds it between them. That's it, he says, with a voice that sounds both satisfied and sad. All gone. None to pass on to the children or the grandchildren now. Just the story of our wedding at Cana, and the rabbi who blessed us with wine. Just the story, but no wine. Not to worry, responds the wife, not to worry. As long as people come to his table, there'll be more.
There's a place where mercy reigns and never dies. There's a place where streams of grace flow deep and wide, where all the love I've ever found comes like a flood, comes flowing down. At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in all of you. There's a place where sin and shame are powerless, where my heart has peace with God and forgiveness, where all the love I've ever found comes like a flood, comes flowing down. At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe of you. Where your love ran red and my sin washed white. I owe all to you. I owe all to you. Here my hope is found. Here on holy ground. Here I bow down. Here I bow down. Here arms open wide. Here you saved my life. Here I bow down. Here I bow. At the cross, I surrender my life. I'm in awe of you. I'm in awe of you. Where your love ran red and my sin washed white. I owe all to you. I owe all to you. I owe all to you. I owe all to you, Jesus. Would you be free from the burden of sin? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Would you or evil a victory win? There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be free from your passion and pride? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Come for a cleansing to Calvary's tide. There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be whiter, much whiter than snow? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Sin stains are lost in its life-giving flow. There's wonderful power